Hello, this is Sebastian Griffin. Sebastian Griffin Tay Kian Guan. Uh, Today, actually, I'm right now in Malacca. I have not been to Malacca for quite some times, and I took a bus from Kuala Lumpur, from this TBS Kuala Lumpur TBS to Malacca Central today. Um, Very happy to see there's so many food, so many nice food in Malacca. Now Malaysia is really not a place I wanted to stay. I've been trying to get out of here, but it seems like my passport applications, my effort to apply for a passport is in vain. Uh, no government wanted to issue me a passport. I'm not sure whether it's connected to my active vocations about human right and also democracy. Now, whatever it is, I just want to touch on certain things related to Genting. I just saw that Lim Kok Thay, the CEO or the chairman of Genting, Resort World Genting. Genting is actually a group. They consist about I think 40 over subsidiaries company. Of course, Genting Berhad is the mother company, and on top of Genting, there is also Kian Huat Realty. Kian Huat Realty was the parent's company. Initially, it was a construction company, and now it is more like a developer company. Now, I saw the news from Nanyang Shampao. Nanyang Shampao is a Chinese press in Malaysia. It's very famous Chinese press in Malaysia, the newspaper. And what published is that Lim Kok Thay got himself about 180 over million ringgit for 1 year salary for one year. Now that is two companies' salary. The Resort World Genting as well as the palm oil called I think it's called Golden Hope. Golden Hope or Genting palm oil or something like that. But that is a palm oil plantation. I think Genting own quite substantial amount of palm oil plantation, especially in Johor, in Kulai Jaya. So he paid himself 100 in total 180 over million for the two companies. I'm not sure about the rest of the 40 over company how much more. Now by right, according to Malaysian law, the income tax just for these two companies alone calculated it turned out to be about 75.8 million, 74.584 million. So that is a huge amount of money for a person to pay income tax to the government. That is his obligation Lim Kok Thay obligation, not my obligations. And I also have to state here that so far I have not received any dividends from Resort World Genting. Now, despite my grandfather passed away in 23rd of October, 23rd of October 2008. That was my grandfather, and then subsequently, my grandmother on August of 2018, 10 years after my grandfather died, passed away. She also passed away. Now, the thing is that the asset that inherited to me by both my parents, my grandparents from my mother's side, the Lim family. Now, my mother is from Lim. My mother is Esther Lim. Have not really paid a single cent to me. The dividend and whichever accrual asset generated from, whichever amount generated, the money generated from the asset, have not paid to me and have not reported to Ecomis. Now, I do not know what happened, but also I want to clarify here that I want to make very clear that I hope my uncle Lim Kok Thay can understand what is the difference between dividend. Dividend is actually a payout from the equity based on how many percentage. Now, these are basic corporate knowledge. I believe he's supposed to know all this corporate knowledge. In a norm, especially I think countries like Malaysia and Singapore, there is no capital gain tax no capital gain tax. That means if you invest in shares in any whether it's shares or whether shares or inheritance, there is no inheritance tax, there is no capital gain tax. The reason why is the government want the people to invest in company, in businesses, so that business is more vibrant. As compared to countries like US and UK where they have inheritance tax, they also have capital gain tax. So Malaysia, Singapore, all these countries are slightly different than the Western country. So my suggestion actually to my uncle is that if he wanted to reduce the total amount, the net amount paid to the government, he's supposed to reduce his salary so that he do not need to pay so much income tax, because income tax rate for rich people is much higher than corporate tax. He need to know the secret of accounting. The salary, all this consider cost of goods sold, consider overhead and plus other cost of goods sold of how the operation cost. That means operation cost, and then all this deducted, then only you'll count the corporate tax. Now corporate tax normally for normal companies stand at about 24% in Malaysia. For gambling related business is I think about 35% for gambling, which for example like Genting, they have casino. So the money generated from the casino need to pay on top of the levy, each machines or whatever they do have impose certain levy. On top of the levy, they also have a tax which is 35%. But other company is 24% across the board. Of course, a small company, I think they pay 19%, depending on the threshold. So, but normally big companies, they pay about 24%. So in this case, after that, then only come to the dividends payment. Dividends payment, there is no such thing as tax. So after deducted all is come to dividends, how much the company decided to pay out for the dividends, which the company have never paid. So from what I see how Genting operate, I do not think they are very savvy in terms of accounting as well as how a corporate functions. But I really do not want to comment much because my knowledge is actually accrual from Singapore, my work experience from Singapore as well as other countries. I rarely work in Malaysia, very seldom. So I really do not know how Malaysian work. Probably the government do not collect, are not so particular in collecting tax, or probably there are some leeway. I do not know. I did not study the taxations in Malaysia. Probably there are some leeway, or probably there are corruption or what. I do not know. Now, I personally, if you ask me, I really do not want to. I really do not want to contribute anything economically or any financial contribution to Malaysia due to the NEP, the new economy policy, and also all the racist policy. That is why I would like to suggest to my uncle Lim Kok Thay, because he refused to accept my email and also refused to accept my Facebook message right now. I think his IT department is smarter than his finance department or his account department. So I cannot communicate with him right now. Even unilaterally, I cannot communicate with him. I think for the benefit of the company, not for the benefit of not because I antagonize with the Malaysian government, I giving suggestion or and blah blah blah. But what I'm trying to say is that this is a norm in the world, whether it's corporate or SME. Even SME, they know this, which is normally director or owner of the company, they will use the company name to buy assets such as property, real estate property, and also buy cars and all that. And there are some items such as electronic gadgets like laptop and all that. All these items can be claimed back, can got rebate, and of course he can go to study, further study, and the further study part also can claim uh, rebate, which is a huge saving. But of course, you're talking about hundreds of million. He probably also did not finish spend all the money. Probably he saved some in the bank. So I really do not know how he is going to how the thing how it works in Genting. But what I can say is that he can actually use the company to buy asset, and use the asset, actually asset also depreciate, so can use the asset to help Genting and also himself to pay less money to the government. That is a legal way of paying less, avoiding paying the government, but also pay. It is a legal way. It is actually it is actually stimulating the Malaysian economy. When you buy something, when you buy asset, when you buy cars and all that, they will actually indirectly also contribute to the Malaysian economy. Unless you're talking about buying property overseas, that means use the company to buy property overseas, then of course it will not contribute to Malaysia economy. So that is the suggestions I can give. First of all, that he can pay himself, he can review his salary, review and reduce his salary so that he can pay less income tax, and then use his company to buy asset, and that will actually reduce because that will consider a cost of operation, and then it will reduce the corporate tax. It will reduce the corporate tax as well as to reduce the income tax. So that is what I can think of for him. But I do not want to say anything. This is just merely suggestions, just only suggestion. I'm not pushing for anything. I do not work for Genting. I do not get any salary from Genting or any company that he holds, and I'm also not his personal advisor. I do not have any privity. I do not have any obligation toward him. In fact, he has obligation toward me when he got so much hundreds of millions of salaries, yet he have not duly he do not commit, he did not do his duty lah, to put it simple. He did not do his duty for paying shareholders dividends. So that is on the Genting side lah. That's what I can say. And also my mother Esther Lim also refused to receive my WhatsApp, receive my call. When I call her, she refused to pick up. So I really do not know how the corporate or how these big bosses works. Seems like they are avoiding and this trend is, I do not know, probably is more prevalent in the Malaysian society, where they are trying to avoid communication in order to avoid responsibility. Now I also have to say that whether it's corporate tax or income tax, the government, whether it's the Prime Minister or the Finance Minister, do not have the power, do not have the jurisdiction to change the rate. The rate can only be changed in the legislative, in the parliament. If there's any amendment to the law, to the existing law, then probably we need to look at what are the amendment, and then from there we can see whether there's any leeway, or if there's any possibility or any delegation to the executive, which is the cabinet minister, to make decisions about tax payment. But so far as I know, there is no such leeway, and the executive do not have power to change the law lightly. So that's what I advise this Lim Kok Thay lah. I do not have any obligation, and he also do not have any obligation whether to take my advice or not. But it is very pathetic lah. The way I look at it, how things function is really probably they say autopilot. But to myself, I am not interested in involving in gambling business, including casino and all that business that is of gambling nature. I'm not interested. So and also I have openly written to Genting, addressing to my uncle Lim Kok Thay that I am not interested to have any business activity in Malaysia unless and until Malaysia abolish the new economy policy. New economy policy, first of all, that NEP is unconstitutional. Most of it, I would say most of the elements are unconstitutional. So you cannot implement something that is unconstitutional. That is my stand. And also, there are some others suggestions and some other things that I wrote to all the Malaysia parliamentarian. I hope they can take my suggestions, and I am not interested to involve any economy activities in Malaysia until my suggestions to them are taken or there are some resolutions on the matter. Otherwise, I'm not consider Malaysia. I do not even consider to live in Malaysia. This country is not for me. The weather is not for me. I do not like the climate. It's hot and humid. I prefer seasonal country. Seasonal country means they got 4 seasons. The countries that got 4 seasons. So which Malaysia is not. So I already make my stand very clear, and this is according to the law. Thank you very much.